I was bawling. I was like, it was a river down my face. Hi everyone, my name is Jennifer and this will be my first booktube video. So a bit nervous, but I will get through it. Thought I'd start with an August wrap up because in the month of August I read 18 books and that's a lot of books. I live in Sydney and Sydney is currently in a 3-month lockdown. August did not slip away into a moment in time and was actually a really long month for me. Before August, I was in a huge reading slump. I didn't read a single book for like 3 months straight. So reading 18 books in August is a huge achievement for me. And hopefully I can keep that up because I have a lot of books on both my physical TBR and my Kindle TBR. So I need to get cracking on some reading. So the first book that I read in the month of August was The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I gave this book a 4.75 out of 5. I give a lot of 0.5s and 0.75s. I'm really indecisive and just like giving a 4 or like giving a 5 does not satisfy me, so I always just give 0.5s and 0.75s. So the first time that I actually heard about this book was in a YouTube video by Noelle. Noelle is probably like my favorite booktuber ever, and when she spoke about this book on her channel I was sold. I was like, okay, I must read that book because it just sounds like it's up my alley, and I really did love it. I did see on a Goodreads review that Taylor Jenkins Reid's writing is really straightforward and doesn't really allow for much personal interpretation of what she's writing, and I do sort of agree with that. And I have yet to read any of her other books, so I can't really say much on her writing, but I liked it in this book. There was also a lot of really lovely quotes and it did make me cry, but I cry very easily, so take that with a grain of salt. I'll give a little synopsis on this book, even though everyone and their mum and their dog and their goldfish has heard about this book. But this book is basically about a really famous actress, Evelyn Hugo, and she gets in touch with a journalist, Monique, to basically tell her life story. And you basically just read her life story, and it's told through her 7 husbands. I just explained what the title means, but yes, that's The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. So while I was reading The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, I read Heartstopper, and I actually read the 4th volume. This is the 1st volume, but it's the only physical copy I have. But I read the 4th volume and I loved it. It is definitely my favorite volume so far. It was so incredible and it made me cry, it made me laugh, it made me cry happy tears. I cannot express enough how much I loved it. I would really recommend reading the Heartstopper series. They are graphic novels and they're so easy to read. I didn't find any issues with them personally. They're just about like life. They're just about real life, and it centers around 2 boys, Nick and Charlie, and their love story and their own personal issues, and then also their surrounding group of friends. It is so cute. I want to be in their friend group even though I'm not in high school anymore. I do have actually one con about this series, and that con is that it makes me wish that I got my own high school romance because it's so cute, and since I'm not in high school anymore, that's not possible. And that's the only issue I have with the book. Also in the month of August, I read the Fork of the Air series, and personally I loved it. I gave the series overall like a 4.5 out of 5. Yeah, I loved it. I know that that's kind of a controversial opinion because there are a lot of people who did not like it. I think one of the issues that a lot of people had with this book was that it was recommended like on Book Talk as an enemies to lovers romance, and the romance is very much a subplot to the actual plot of the book, which I personally did not mind. I love romance. I mainly read for romance, but I actually really liked how little romance there was. Even though like obviously I want an entire book just about Jude and Cardin, the fact that there was very little romance made me want more, and made me want to keep reading about them, and just it did not bother me. And also I think one of the reasons why I really loved this series is because I really loved the main character, Jude. She was just such a fucking badass. She was such a badass. She is the definition of a girl boss and I just loved her. At the beginning of August, I actually read The Cruel Prince in a 24-hour readathon, so I read this entire book in one go. And also in that 24-hour readathon, I read, take a hint, Danny Brown. So I know that this is like one of the most popular out of the 3 Brown Sisters books, and I did love it. I did love it, but I gave it a, well, 3.75 out of 5, but on Goodreads I rated it as a 3 because I was really tired while I read this. I was so exhausted. I just wanted to sleep, but it was a 24-hour readathon and I was like, I'm pushing through. I'm going to finish this book. And I think that really kind of ruined my experience because I was exhausted and I was just like, can these 2 characters just get it on already? The first 30% of the book, I was really loving it. Danny and Zafia, I think that's how you say it. They're exceptional characters. They're so sweet. It's a like friends to lovers, and they were like so cute. They were so cute, but 70% in, I was like, please just smash. Please just smash. I'm begging you. I do think I want to reread this book when I'm not about to fall asleep. Yes, it was still a very cute book and I would recommend reading this series. I have yet to read the 3rd one, but I do have it and I am very excited to read it because Talia Hibbert just has a way of like making you love her characters and believing in the story. In one of Noelle's videos, she said like one of the things about reading romances is that you want to be able to root for the characters and you want to be able to connect with the characters, and I definitely am able to do that with Talia Hibbert's books. So I definitely recommend reading her books if you need some romance and if you need some good spice, because there's really good spice in these books. It's really good. So now for a big one. I read A Court of Wings and Ruin, and this book is so big. I actually took like 6 months to read this. Not actually 6 months. I started this book in February and I just could not. I stopped about like a quarter in and then I read other stuff and then I went into my reading slump. The end third of the book was like intense. I cried. It was emotional. There was a lot going on. It like reminded me of Endgame because it's like a whole war that happens at the end. So yes, that's the 3rd book in the ACOTAR series. The last physical book that I read in August was It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. This is the first Colleen Hoover book that I read and I liked it. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. As you can see, a lot of 0.5s and 0.75s here. I did get a bit of it spoiled for me on TikTok, so I went into this book with like a different perspective because I knew like a very big plot point already, but I still was very emotional while reading it. And I actually didn't cry during the story of the book, which is surprising because the waterworks come out really easily. But when I read the author's note and the acknowledgements, I was bawling. I was like, it was a river down my face. Reading Colleen's words and like seeing how personal this story is to her made me appreciate the story like so much more. And yeah, I really loved it. When I first bought this book, I thought that the story was gonna be like the song The Way I Loved You by Taylor Swift. I thought it was gonna go like that, and this is very much not a romance. Like it is a love story, but the romance is not like the central part of the book. Yeah. In August, I also bought a Kindle. My sticker on it says I'd Never Walk Cornelia Street Again, one of my favorite songs ever. And I did read a few books, not actually on my Kindle because I did get this later in the month, but on the Kindle app as well, so same thing. So the first book that I read on my Kindle was The Statistical Probability of Love at First Sight by Jennifer E. Smith, and I gave that book a 3 out of 5. I actually read that book also in the 24-hour readathon, and to be honest, I did skim parts of it because it is like a YA romance and it wasn't like my favorite thing ever, but it was still cute and I did tear up a little bit at the end. It's a really like quick read. And then I read A Love Letter to Whiskey by Candy Steiner, and I gave that book a 3 out of 5 as well. I think personally I wouldn't recommend that book. If I could go back in time and not read it, I would. Not because it's a bad book, but I feel like the tropes in it just weren't for me. It is the best friends to lovers, but there were parts of the books where I was like really angry, and it is a lot like right person, wrong time. A lot of that happens in the book, so it wasn't my favorite book, but I thought it wasn't that bad. So if you like best friends to lovers, if you like angst, if you like sexual tension, and if you don't mind right person, wrong time tropes, I would recommend it, I think. Maybe not, I don't know. Okay, and then I read Credence by Penelope Douglas. So Credence, okay, it was the first Penelope Douglas book that I read. I don't know why I picked it as my first, because it's a lot. It is like a taboo romance. It is about this girl. Her name is like Tiernan. I think she's like 17 in the book at the beginning, and her parents pass away, so she ends up living with her step uncle and his 2 sons. And once she turns 18, shit goes down with all 3. Yeah, so it's a lot. There is quite a few consent issues in the book. Tiernan will be like, stop, but then she's also like, I don't want this to stop, like in her brain, but then she's verbally saying stop and the person she's with doesn't stop. So there are multiple times where that happens in the book, and honestly I don't remember much. I just remember there was a lot of spice. I first gave it a 3 out of 5 when I finished reading it, because even though it wasn't like my favorite book and I did not like the plot, and there's really no plot, it's a lot of smut, I still felt a lot of emotions. I mostly rate from like how I felt while reading a book, and it did, you know, put me on a roller coaster. So I was like, okay, 3 out of 5, but then and then I dropped it to a 2 out of 5 because I really like sat on it and like thought about what happened in that book. There were just like a lot of questionable moments in that book. So yes, I did drop it down to a 2 out of 5. And then on Let's Do a 180, I read Xoxo by Axio, which is a YA romance about a girl who plays the cello. She meets a K-pop idol and they fall in love. Which is, you know, just like the opposite of what Credence was. I did give Xoxo like a 3.5 out of 5. I thought it was cute. It was an easy read. It was an easy, quick read. I just didn't really love it that much. I think because it is a YA romance and it's set with high schoolers, I felt a bit like wary about the whole K-pop idol thing, because like we all know, you know, K-pop idols like don't date and then like they hit 28 and they come out with a baby and a wife. You know, they're not like actually like finding the loves of their lives in high school, which like, you know, has nothing to do with the book. The book is fine. That's just like my opinion. What am I talking about? Okay, anyways, so that was Xoxo. It was a cute book, and yeah, there was nothing that bad about it, but I didn't really love it. So on top of reading Heartstopper, I read 4 other graphic novels. 3 of them were part of like a series, which is the Tea Dragon Society, the Tea Dragon Festival, and the Tea Dragon Tapestry. I loved it. It was really cute. My favorite was definitely the Tea Dragon Festival, because the story in that is like so adorable. The art is beautiful, and yeah, I really recommend it. It's just really cute. But yeah, I don't really have much more to say on it. Just recommend checking it out. And then I also read Laura Dean Keeps Breaking Up With Me on Libby, and I gave that a 3 out of 5. I liked it. I didn't love it. The art was beautiful, and yeah, it is about this girl Freddie, and her girlfriend Laura Dean keeps breaking up with her, and like that's basically the whole premise, and you just like see Freddie's own personal journey. Yeah. Then I read To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo, and I gave that a 4 out of 5. It was a good standalone fantasy. It is about this siren, her name's Lyra, and she's like the daughter of the Siren Queen, and because of something that she does, she gets punished by her mum and is turned into a human. The love interest is a prince, I think his name was Evelyn. The prince is a siren killer, and then Lyra takes the hearts of princes. I don't know if I'm explaining this very well, but basically they're enemies. They kill each other, basically. Like Lyra kills humans and Evelyn kills sirens. So enemies to lovers, and I thought it was good. I thought the plot was good. It did drag a tiny bit, and I did love the banter between Lyra and Evelyn. They were like really cute together. Then I DNF'd a book, which I hate doing. I don't really like to DNF books. I like to like read them in full. I just could not keep reading this book. So I saw a TikTok that was like, if you're looking for a cute, fluffy football sports romance, then read this book. And I was like, okay, well, I love fluff and I love sports romances, so why not? And it's called The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. It is a best friends to lovers, and I just could not get past like the first 30%. It is a best friends to lovers, so like the whole premise is I love him, but I know he'll never see me in that way. And then he's like, I love her, but she's always friend zoning me. I don't mind best friends to lovers. It is like one of my favorite tropes, but because it's a dual POV, I could not take double the amount of this type of like, he will never see me in that way, when like I can read, I'm reading that he sees you in that way. So it was just getting on my nerves, and also the writing wasn't my favorite. There was like a ton of info dumps, like every other paragraph there was an info dump. Why are you telling me about what your sister's suburban house looks like? I'm not interested. Just say your sister is a suburban wife, and like that's all I need to know. I don't know if that's me being picky, but I just like lost interest and I started skimming, and then I was like, I don't want to read this book anymore. I think like if you love a nice cute best friends to lovers and you don't mind an extreme amount of mutual pining, then I would say like go for it. I read it on Kindle Unlimited, so I didn't like pay for anything, so it wasn't like a big loss. But then after that I picked up another best friends to lovers, and 5 out of 5. It was a 5 out of 5 to me, and it is Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating by Christina Lauren. I gave it technically a 4.5 out of 5, but like in my heart it's a 5 out of 5. I don't know if that makes sense, but I loved it. It was so cute. It made me feel so empty inside. I was like, I'm so lonely while reading it. So the book is about Josh and Hazel, and they're not best friends from the beginning of the book, but they become best friends, and they basically like go on a bunch of double dates together, and they're like, we wouldn't date each other, but like obviously they're gonna fall in love. The ending, like the trope at the end, is not my favorite. I hate that trope. If you've read the book, you know I hate that trope. The way that Christina Lauren did it was actually like did not make me want to rip my hair out, so I didn't mind it. It did feel kind of rushed at the end, but I still really love this book, and it was only like 230 pages, so it's a really quick read and definitely will be a comfort read of mine. It was the best friends to lovers romance that I needed after reading the cheat sheet, and I would definitely recommend reading it if you want a nice cute best friends to lovers with like some decent spice. Like the cheat sheet is a YA romance, which I did not realize when I was reading it, because the characters are like past college age, I think, or maybe like fresh out of college, I don't know, but I was reading some reviews and they were like, it's a young adult romance, and I was like, oh, so like I'm not gonna get any spice, then why am I reading this? No, but like Josh and Hazel's has some spice. It's not like Talia Hibbert level spice, but it's like still spice. So yeah. So yes, those were the 18 books plus one DNF book that I read in the month of August. I think it was a pretty good reading month for me. I really hope that I can keep this up, because lockdown is boring and reading is the only fun thing, because uni is not fun. So yes, I hope you guys enjoyed me rambling about all of these books. I don't know if I made any sense. I don't know if I explained any of the books well. I feel like a lot of them were books that people have already read or heard about, so I hope if you're watching this that you have an extraordinary day, and remember that you are defined by the things that you love. And go listen to Daylight by Taylor Swift. Okay.